So I saw this Buzzfeed video, and it just caught my attention both with the headline and then how it started. So I kind of wanted to do like a sort of reaction video, but actually like give a lot of my thoughts on it.
This entire experiment took place in conjunction with me just living my life. What I didn't realize is that it was also informing the way that I saw life. I just started posting videos on my own YouTube channel because I had something to say, and I realized that people were listening based on how I articulated the issues.
So yeah, that's kind of what I did. So I was like, yeah, that's something I do. So this has captured my interest. But I don't know if anybody really cares about what I say.
I posted a video that was pro-reparations towards black folks.
Then you sit down and you ask yourself, well, where did all the money go?
And before I knew it, I was getting far more views than I ever anticipated. I had seen one or two people who could be seen as trolls on my smaller videos. When the first one went viral, that's when I got a full reckoning of what a troll actually can do. When you first get trolled by a racist, it hurts, and then your ego comes in and then you get angry. Since I can't physically do anything, I'm gonna get these facts and figures, I'm gonna battle intellect.
Well, maybe like the very, very first time you go online and it seems like some older people are like barely going online and interacting with social people. But the first time I did this, I was like 14 and 15. So yeah, there's some teen angst mixed up in there maybe. But I already went through interacting with trolls. I went through a whole lifetime of it, or half my lifetime. So I already knew about don't feed the trolls and shit, and not to get angry over bullshit people online. People you interact with personally, physically and stuff affect you so much more than people you interact with online. And I'm sorry to say that to some of my foreign friends and friends that I've only met online, but it's the truth.
Intellectually via the comment section. I realized that arguing with people in the comment section wasn't getting me to the root of the problem. They can simply cop out with a racial expletive, and ultimately they could just stick to their own viewpoint in the end.
See, that part I slightly disagree with. Yeah, that does happen sometimes. Some people can just be racist and, say fuck off. But sometimes viewpoints are just that, viewpoints. Just because you have a viewpoint doesn't mean your viewpoint is correct. Sometimes people can have multiple viewpoints and they can all be correct, but you have to decide which one we're going to go with. And so we usually go with the majority, but kind of helping protecting the minority as well. That's kind of fucking what government is.
I also began to notice that a few of my trolls actually had brains, which made me even more curious and want to understand them even further.
See, again, automatically people think you don't agree with me, you're stupid. And if you actually sit down and talk, a lot of times they can be smart. They just have to, both sides have to just calm down and actually articulate it. But of course there are some people amongst the sides that just love to poke at people and don't have any real end game other than just fucking with people.
Although these supposed morons engaged in what appeared to be original thought, as I said to myself, these guys are highly misinformed, at least according to my knowledge. And as it turns out, that same target marketing algorithm that feeds you more of the products that you like to buy also feeds you more of the news that you like to hear. And I have been living in an online universe that just reflected my worldview back to me.
See, that's an awesome thing to talk about, and what I thought the video subject and little headline should have been about. This is social media algorithms. This is collection of data and then feeding you the same stuff that you love, so you're just in your own bubble. That's kind of how it is within cities, counties, states, whatever. We're just in our own little bubbles sometimes, and we don't see other people's viewpoints. And this is how it is online. But the fucking headline was, I went undercover as an alt-right person or whatever, because, whatever, headline, flair. But this is all about social media algorithms and seeing other people's viewpoints. Psychology.
And all your friends who already agree with you are posting things that you already agree with. You never get counterpoints. Eventually, you have to seek it out actively. When I tried to engage in new content, they would give me some new suggestions, but I wanted all the new suggestions. I want the whole thing.
Sometimes people do not want the new suggestions. Sometimes people do not want the whole thing. Especially if you're talking about race, you will meet some people who are just fucking ignorant. But then there are some people who are so bright and articulate, yet are still racist and think that they're better than other people. Because this is just a race issue, so you can pick this about so many different issues. They are so intelligent, yet they still think that they're superior somehow, and they use their intelligence to do these mind tricks and circles to get their point, which is what I keep saying in so many of my videos since I'm an English major. You can use the English language to your advantage and turn almost any point to your point.
So I decided to trick the algorithm into just feeding me more of the news that I didn't necessarily agree with. So with the anonymity of the internet, I went undercover. I commented on a few videos and started talking bad about Al Sharpton and Barack Obama and just mirroring the anti-black sentiments that were thrown at me. I would spend days clicking through my new racist profile, goofing off at work in Aryan land, right?
As Lucius 25, I'm saying things that are against the things that I truly believe, and then I'm watching them get applauded. But enough people back you up on it, it feels like that's the way to go. And we as humans, social creatures, can lose our way with just a little bit of this.
It's not always just, well, because I get some encouragement, that's the right thing to do. Some people keep missing this with Democrats and Republicans and party lines. It's not just, oh, well, I'm coaxed to believe Democrat or I'm coaxed to believe Republican, although that does happen sometimes. It's I'm born to hate these things, or I'm born with such anger and fear, so I'm going this way, or I'm born like this, in my opinion. And that's what makes people think, I want this in life, I want that in life, this feels more comfortable to me, that feels fucking weird, get it away from me. And then that affects their viewpoints, which goes into laws, and that's why people have alternate viewpoints. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, sometimes all of them are right, and they're just alternate viewpoints. So, again, some people just aren't really thinking that's just an alternate state of mind. Instead, they're thinking, this is the norm, you're outside of the norm, I'm kind of going outside of the norm, you should come into my norm, or some bullshit, I don't fucking know.
When I went undercover, I found a lovely plethora of characters, luminaries like Milo Yiannopoulos, Richard Spencer, and David Duke. All of these guys are thought leaders in their own right, but over time, the content fueled the alt-right movement.
What I found was that they had alternative facts and figures. And these alternative facts and figures, when I researched them, they weren't based in any real scholarship, but they were based on this chain of web pages upon web pages that didn't have to be verified or fact-checked.
Yes. Well, half yes again. There are some people who are completely fooled, immediately see something on Facebook and share it and stuff like that, and don't do any research. Some people don't want to do research. They don't have fucking time. So that does happen. But again, you can use statistics and numbers and a lot of things to get to your viewpoint. And it's so easy, and so many people do it on both sides. It's not like it's, here and there it happens. It happens all the fucking time. Anybody who ever writes a paper, writes a speech, writes an article, you are doing something with those figures, with those statistics, maybe bending them a little bit. You can completely stick to the facts 100%, but you can still bend them to go to your point of view and your opinion. And some people just automatically think that other people's opinion is wrong. But again, sometimes they can just, share a bunch of nonsense and bullshit, and it can be wrong.
When they were accosted with the narrative that says, hey, you're a white male and you're guilty of all these historical crimes, they sought a narrative to counterbalance that and to absolve them of those historical crimes.
But again, with the historical crimes, that's kind of fucking stupid, I think. A lot of people think it's stupid. I can do it pretty easily with most Americans. Because some black people say, well, your white ancestry was evil and they owned slaves, so you should take some guilt for that or something, which I think is complete bullshit, because it is the exact same way some Japanese people have approached me and said, some Americans bombed us. You should go see the, the bomb site, basically. It's your duty to do it because you're guilty by association. That's like fucking Adam and Eve original sin. I was born with Adam and Eve's original sin, therefore I need to be baptized. That is some stupid bullshit, in my opinion. My father came to America. He wasn't American until 2000, so I was only like half American. Yeah, I was born in America, so I'm all American, therefore I'm automatically guilty for nuclear bombs in World War II. That's stupid. The exact same way all white people are guilty for fucking slaves 100 and something years ago. I know I forgot it was how many years ago exactly, but still, it's the exact same thing. However, do not say that it never happened. Some people try to ignore the fact that it happened, the historical facts, and then people who ignore the facts, or people who ignore history, always repeat it.
One thing Dig kept screaming at me through the subtext of the arguments, and that is,
Why should I be hated for who I cannot help but be? Nobody likes to feel discriminated against because of traits that they cannot control, no matter where you fall on the racial spectrum.
That's the exact point that I've been making. Everybody has their own viewpoints because they're born this certain way. This is how I feel. This is how I think. Of course, it's the whole nature versus nurture argument. Sometimes it's how you feel. Sometimes it's how you're taught to feel. So yeah, whatever. But people do have different viewpoints, and sometimes their different viewpoints can be correct. I've said that like 30 times, whatever.
now as a black man in America, that actually resonated with me, because I've spent a lot of time defending myself against attempts to make me apologize for who I am, trying to demonize me as something that I'm not, some kind of thug or felon or menace to society. Now, the source of the demonization of black males and white males is historically quite different, and a lot of where you fall on that argument is greatly an accident of birth.
There's a big crime that has been perpetuated against white people, white children, and that is that they've only been told about the good parts of their history, not the bad parts.
That is fucking bullshit. You mean coming to America and raping all the Indians and stuff, that wasn't a bad part? And this whole slave trade, that wasn't the bad part? They teach us all about that shit. What the fuck are you talking about?
And when we say our narrative to those who have been fed this diet brand of history, it comes off as reverse racism. I saw Trump's election an inevitability precisely because I had a profile on the other side of the internet that saw just how vast this movement was.
Or maybe because, you know, they kept fucking around. Hillary thought she was like the best fucking thing ever, but everybody fucking hated her anyways, and she screwed Bernie out of the... Well, I'm not even gonna go into that whole thing.
If you don't understand the mechanics of how racism works and you stop at judgment and condemnation, all you do is make yourself right, but you don't solve the problem. So do you want to be right or do you want to solve the problem? Liberals do have this wide acceptance for everybody, except for those who have honestly held conservative viewpoints.
That, again, liberal, conservative, different viewpoints, but another subject, well, similar subject. It reminded me of this history class where my teacher kept saying conservatives will always lose because the only thing that's the same, the only thing that remains the same is that there's change. We're always changing, we're always improving, we're always going forward. That's what progressive progress is, and conservative is like staying the same. But of course there was a couple old conservative people in the class, and the teacher was an old white dude, so he could have easily been a conservative, and we live in a pretty racist ass area, but he wasn't. And he was like, that's just how it is. We keep progressing and conservatives want to stay the same, and that's just how the conflict of ideas is going to be. I want to stay here, I want to go forward. Well, no. Different viewpoints.
I sometimes feel that a lot of progressives do not understand that there is this button in human beings that likes things the way that they've always been. That those who will call themselves conservatives, progressives threaten that. We treat people who disagree with us as if they are expendable. We could go and just ignore each other, but eventually, your children will find each other.
See, I love that point because it reminded me of a kind of argument that I had with that same class. Some older white guy. I know it probably shouldn't matter that he's white, but whatever. He was conservative. He admitted to that. He was just saying basically like, if a school is doing bad, the kids are doing bad, they have bad grades and stuff because, you know, it's probably a bad neighborhood, we should cut their funding because we should just cut their losses. Fuck them. Give the money to the good schools, the good students. And I'm like, what? They're kids. They're human beings. And he's like, no, we just need to think about it mathematically. And I'm like, no, think of it as human beings coming up to their future. They're growing up. They're going to be part of the society. Who knows what will happen with them?
And what that means is that they'll have an idea of this person that is fully out of sync with who they are. And we already know that that leads to war. We already know that that leads to death. The idea that you can ghost somebody and turn them into this word, this racist word, insert name here. Because you ignored them for so long, you also ignored their humanity for so long. Well, we know that that's a bloodshed tactic.
Yeah, that's not just even in social issues. That's with pretty much all war. Almost all war. They tell, well, at least from what I understand, you know, they tell them that they're not human, basically. That they're evil, and they dehumanize them. That's the word I'm thinking of. And then it makes it easier to ignore them or kill them or whatever.
What if I told you that the key to this upgrade is just having real face-to-face conversations with difficult people? People don't see the world the same way that you see the world. And I ain't talking about online safe conversations from the security of your laptop. No, I'm talking about in-your-face conversations with real breathing people. See, conversations stop violence.
That is not true. Conversations can easily start violence.
Your ego comes in and then you get angry. Since I can't physically do anything,
You can get very heated, and I've seen people come to violence over stupid things like a video game release at midnight. I've seen it. But I'm just kind of being negative and trying to find an alternate viewpoint. He's making good points, you know. He's being positive. Good job.
They start countries. They build bridges. And when the chips are down, conversations are the last tool that humans have before they pick up the guns.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend that people did what I did, but I would recommend that you immerse yourself in opposing viewpoints. Only from the other side did I realize how deep my own rabbit hole was. By coming to know my enemy, I came to know myself.
But I think that's pretty much it. You know, I just wanted to comment on it because that video captured my attention, and I just wanted to say a bunch of different things that were just flooding in my mind. And it related to a topic that I've been meaning to talk about. The whole different viewpoints, the whole Republicans and Democrats aren't just different based on name, based on party lines. It's a whole different mind frame, whole different psychological aspect. And some people don't really stop and think about that sometimes. But anyways, you can leave a comment telling me your thoughts. Thumbs up the video if you liked it, I guess. And subscribe to my channel for more stuff like that. Stuff like this. You know, high vlogs talking about politics and whatevs. Yeah. See you guys later.